Happy Pride! I'm Steve Kiggins, and if you didn't know, you do now. I am totally gay. Surprise! Some people might think, I can easily pass as a straight man, and maybe that's, part of my core personality or even some kind of deep-seated coping mechanism, which, by the way, is legitimately a thing. That's, for a conversation for another time. But this year, Pride sure looks a lot different. We don't see a lot of the parades. We don't see the street parties, and you know why. Coronavirus and this pandemic. But if you're looking around and seeing everything that America is currently entangled and wondering what in the world there could possibly be to have pride in, well, I think you're looking in the wrong direction. Gay pride isn't just about being gay. It's about having that self-respect and knowing who you are and recognizing it and embracing it, even in the face of rejection and in the face of bigotry. Because the reality is no one can take that from you. It's hard to imagine the landmark civil rights decision that affirmed marriage equality across America. That only happened 5 years ago, almost to the very day. And earlier this month, the Supreme Court declared it illegal to fire someone based on their sex orientation or their gender identity. That's good news, but it's not enough. President Trump's administration continues to push a policy that would put in danger trans people in their right to access medical care. The administration is also asking the Supreme Court to eliminate Obamacare in the midst of a pandemic crisis this country hasn't seen in more than a century. And what's even more interesting, the landmark 1964 civil rights, it seems almost alien to me because I wasn't even alive at the time, right? And just its core principles just seem obvious. Yet inequity in America is systemic. If you don't believe inequity abounds, you might be really confused by these protests teeming across America, literally begging all of us and everyone to recognize that Black and Indigenous and people of color are affirming that they continue to endure this bigotry and racism in both private and public sectors. Most people don't find out I'm gay until I tell them. And, I kind of think that that's a lifelong process. I actually come out every day. I almost consider it my responsibility, but it's a choice. And it's something that I consider to be a privilege. People of color don't have that same luxury, that immutable characteristic that is too often used as a way to define them, and how they're treated is not something that they conceal or choose to divulge. So if you have privilege, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to open your mind and your ears and your hearts to hear their calls for equity, to demand to be heard, that this is not right? There is no pride when you neglect to hear the roaring calls for justice. Love each other. Happy Pride.